Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Durham City Hall. We are in session, and I'm going to start doing this to call us to order because there is a little fella that's going to be joining us. And if I hit this gavel and officially call us into order, there's a little fella in Durham who's dealing with a rare disease. And I have invited him to be mayor for a day. So he's going to join us at the next meeting and gavel us in officially. So I look forward to bringing him in. And so he'll be able to look at the video and see this is how it's done. But welcome, everyone. Happy New Year and happy holidays. And we are back to work. At this time, I'll ask everyone to join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Now we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilmember Burris.
If it's your practice, I invite you to rise and recite with me the Pledge of Allegiance.
All right, Madam Clerk, if you will, please call the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mayor Williams.
I'm here.
Mayor Pro Tem Caballero.
Here.
Councilmember Baker.
Here.
Councilmember Burris.
Present.
Councilmember Cook.
Here.
Councilmember Kopak.
Here.
Councilmember Rist.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll start with Mayor Pro Tem Caballero with our first ceremonial item.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for this honor, Mayor. I will be reading the proclamation around Human Trafficking Prevention Month, and I'd love to invite Kara Matthews up here with me. If Kara's here. Thank you. Whereas human trafficking is the recruitment, harboring, transportation, provision, or obtaining a person through the use of force, fraud, or coercion for the purpose of forced labor or commercial sex. And whereas North Carolina consistently ranks in the top 10 for a number of human trafficking cases reported to the National Human Trafficking Hotline. And whereas human trafficking is the fastest growing criminal enterprise in the world, now creating over $236 billion in illegal profits each year. And whereas last year alone, the cyber tip line received 20.5 million reports related to 29.2 million incidents of suspected child sexual exploitation. And whereas trafficking survivors often go undetected and unserved, experiencing extremely high levels of trauma, and the number of restoration opportunities for survivors in North Carolina is not enough to serve the number of survivors. And whereas more awareness is needed at the community level to educate citizens on the realities and needs of survivors, and whereas the City of Durham has a firm commitment to protect our residents and support anti-trafficking efforts, now therefore I, Leonardo Williams, Mayor of the City of Durham, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim January 2026 as Human Trafficking Prevention Month in the City of Durham, and hereby urge all residents to support the efforts of this organization to build our community and creating lasting impact on our city residents. Witness my hand and the corporate seal of the City of Durham, North Carolina, this the 5th January 2026. To you.
Good evening, esteemed members of Durham Town Council and guests. It is a joy and privilege to be with you this evening. My name is Reverend Kara Matthews, and I serve on the board of SHIELD NC as a survivor advocate liaison. As the Town Council just declared, January is Human Trafficking Prevention Month. I'm going to take a few minutes to explain what human trafficking is, because there are misnomers surrounding it. The media often portrays human trafficking as individuals being abducted or kidnapped. However, only 4 to 6% of victims enter into trafficking that way. Hence, if we continue focusing on scenarios like that, we run the risk of missing 90% of the cases. Instead, it's important to know that most human trafficking victims know and trust their trafficker. They go through the process called grooming, and a trafficker can be a trusted adult, boyfriend, girlfriend, or peer who lures them in. 40% of trafficking victims are exploited by a family member. One of our survivors was sold into trafficking at 6 years old because it was a family member. No one thought to question the situation. North Carolina ranks number 9 in the nation for the number of human trafficking cases reported to the National Human Trafficking Hotline. Unfortunately, human trafficking is happening right here all around us, but there is something that you can do. The first step is to educate yourself about what human trafficking is and what you should do to recognize the signs. Shield NC offers a virtual training every month, and we've reduced the training to just 1 hour, and it can be done virtually. Please check out the website at shieldnc.org and see when a training is coming up. Also reach out to law enforcement and the National Trafficking Hotline. If you see something that seems off, please go with your gut and reach out. Thank you so much for inviting us in for the proclamation. Thank you.
I'll have Dr. Wanda Boone to join me here at the microphone. Welcome. If anyone find my other glasses, please let me know, okay? I hope this works. I'm grateful to acknowledge you and your organization and the amazing work that you've been doing for years. Long story short, my 4th year teaching, we filmed a commercial, the marching band filmed a commercial, and for the work that you all were doing, and that's when I really grew into it. And then we met at Elmo's Diner to talk about grants, and you've been doing amazing work in this community tirelessly. And I'm just personally grateful for the lives that you've saved in our young people. This proclamation reads, whereas Together for Resilient Youth, TRI, founded in Durham County in the year 2000, has worked to prevent substance misuse and promote resilience among youth, families, and communities. And whereas TRI has used the public health model to address disparities in census tract epicenters through collective impact and authentic community representatives addressing substance use, violence, and chronic disease. And whereas TRI has engaged thousands across Durham, North Carolina, and the United States through trauma-informed care, resilience training, support services, and coalition work. And whereas TRI has prioritized overdose prevention, addressing both opioid and alcohol misuse, particularly among Black communities disproportionately impacted by the overdose crisis. And whereas TRI's Health Ambassador Program has trained community members, including youth, through seniors, resulting in confirmed life-saving interventions and widespread, I always mess this up, naloxone distribution. And whereas TRI has developed prevention resources for all ages, including the Opioid Misuse and Overdose Prevention Guide, Resilient Recovery Community Training Guide, Marijuana and Youth Mental Health Curriculum for justice-involved and non-justice-involved youth. And whereas TRI's work embodies prevention, dignity, equity, and legacy, ensuring families and communities are equipped with knowledge and resources and resilience. And also, whereas I'm highly motivated by your work for the city and county's largest violent crime reduction program, and looking forward to you being a part of that. So therefore, I, Leonardo Williams, Mayor of the City of Durham, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim January 5th, 2026 as 25th anniversary of Together Resilient Youth Coalition, TRY, in the City of Durham, and hereby urge all residents to support the efforts of this organization to build up our community and creating lasting impact on our city residents. So witness my hand and the corporate seal of the City of Durham, North Carolina, this 5th day of January, 2026.
Thank you for everyone. Yes, I am. Thank you so much. I'm really appreciative of this proclamation. Just a couple of things. First of all of the city council members will receive the Preventing Opioid Misuse and Overdose Community Guide that I wrote with North Carolina Central University. It talks about anything, everything that the community needs to know and that everyone needs to know about opioid overdose misuse, naloxone, who to call, the kinds of things that we're doing throughout the community. And it's really interesting to me that we have a link between substance use, chronic disease, and violence that exists within Durham, but also among other communities. It's not unique, in other words. But we are a unique community where our solutions need to be community embraced, community informed, and community rooted. And that's what you'll see in this guide. The other thing is that and when people clap when I say this, but I'm not saying it for a clap, but if you do, it's okay. So my husband, Earl, co-founder, and I have been married for 54 years. Okay, anyway. Okay, but the reason that I mention that is we embarked upon this quest. It's personal to us. It's not a business, although it is. It's not a job, although it is. In 1974, before we even had our children, we found out that there were 3 children who had witnessed their mother shoot and kill their stepfather. And because the mother went off to jail, we took them into our home. And people said, don't do that. We were too young to do it anyway, but don't do that. Do you know how damaged they are? And we realized that love was the most important thing. That when people are loved, regardless of their adverse experiences, they can achieve great things. Today, one is a college professor, another has her own business as a caterer, and one has retired, tell them the age, retired from the sheriff's office. So, and that just spearheaded us, motivated us to continue to make this a lifelong effort. Vera Institute, I don't know how many of you have read their report yet, have identified TRY as a model process to follow. And so I'm extremely grateful, happy, and we will do this for 25 plus 25 plus 25 more years. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. All right, this time we'll have brief announcements by council. Councilmember Burris, why don't you start us off?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, colleagues, staff, Mr. Manager, residents here. It's good to see everybody. for 2026. First of all, I wanted to thank and congratulate Dr. Boone. What a great honor for 25 years of impact. I'm so glad you mentioned this being your quest, because that's like exactly, I know it's a job, and as you said, but it's clear to everyone in this community that this is your quest, and we're grateful for that. We're all so much better for that. You know, well, first of all, I want to wish everybody, hope everybody had happy holidays and a great new year. In my family, I'm sure everybody had a wonderful time, great things going on. I do want to say in my family, my mother turned 90 on December 19th. We had a huge party for her turning 90, and so I'm so grateful for her and all she's meant for me. And so it was a great part of the holidays for my family before the holidays even kind of wrapped up, so it was a great time. You know, Pierre, we often talk about things that have happened in the past week or a couple of things. I just want to look forward to the next year. I'm really excited about 2026. I'm excited to work with a new team of 7 colleagues here on the council, with the manager and his staff on all the priorities we have in front of us. I also look forward to budget season, which is coming up soon. It's always a big part of the year for us and a big lift for us here on the council. And I look forward to working on the city's priorities that we've outlined, and we're still working to finish that strategic plan, but look forward to working on those priorities. There's 2 I want to lift up, 2 priorities in particular, and these have been some of the biggest priorities since I got elected a couple years ago. Number 1 is affordable housing. We are expected to grow by about 150,000 people in the next 30 years. We don't have a lot of tools that were given by the legislature to create affordable housing, so I look forward to working with my colleagues in the council, with staff and others, to continue using all the tools we have at our disposal to build housing of all kinds for people so we can maintain affordability in Durham. And in particular, I want to work on the key tools we have to build affordable housing. That's a huge priority, and I look forward to working with all of you on that. The second thing is another big priority in the city is violence reduction. And I am concerned about the spike in shootings and homicides in the last couple of weeks. It's very concerning. I know we're working, this is a commitment that the council has, the manager and the staff have. This is a never-ending commitment we have. And I do look forward to working with the county on the comprehensive evidence-informed violence reduction plan that's now in the works that we announced late in December and is a big part of our collaboration with the county. This is a critical key piece. We've got too much gun violence in Durham still. It's a thing that plagues our city. So I look forward to working with folks like Dr. Boone and others on this plan to make sure we address that. It's a never-ending priority for us on the council. So I just want to wish you all a Happy New Year, and I do look forward to delivering with my colleagues on the council and the staff, delivering on the key challenges we have before us in 2026. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Cook.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year to my colleagues, to all of the staff, to all the residents of Durham. And just a lot going on. There's a lot going on. Obviously, we're all sort of watching international news and what that sort of means in a big way for residents of particular cities. And I want to thank my colleague, Councilmember Riss, for bringing up the uptick in gun violence that we've seen right here in Durham. So a lot of violence and a lot of painful things that have gone on this week, and I just want to recognize that and say that I feel like there's a lot of conversation in the community about who cares and who doesn't care about these things and what we're doing and what we're not doing. There's a lot of folks working on violence prevention in this community, and I just want to appreciate all the ways that folks put their heart and souls into this work and care for this community in such a big way. And I am really looking forward to strengthening our bonds with the county, as Councilmember Riss was just saying, and other organizations and individuals that are doing that work in the community, and really seeing what we can make of being more efficient and prioritizing sort of the folks who already have this lived knowledge and experience, and lifting up that work and funding it and making sure that it continues to happen. So just want to send an appreciation and say that I know that when these shootings happen, it feels like, it just feels really heavy and really scary and really sad, and that there are people who I want to recognize who've been really putting that work in, and a lot of us care really deeply about this and are really dedicated to finding solutions. And that being said, if folks ever have solutions, I just want to reiterate, there are only 7 of us up here. We can't think of everything. We've got a great staff, but if y'all have policy ideas, come to us. That's one of the ways that we can be the most effective. We got 300,000 people that live in Durham. I know that we've got some good ideas for doing things, ending violence and beyond. So always feel free to come with policy ideas. I'm always happy to hear those. I also want to just recognize the Human Trafficking Prevention Month proclamation. I thought that was really important information. My first legal job was to do farm worker rights advocacy, and this is a subsect of human trafficking that people don't think about a lot. And so I thought it was really important that we were hearing about sort of these alternative narratives to this sort of like kidnapping of young children, which is not really making up the vast amount of that human trafficking. And what we were seeing was adult folks who were brought in on visas or on promise of some kind of economic security, and then were being taken advantage of by large corporations and moved around from place to place, didn't know where they were. It was really scary at times. We got calls from people who were literally just being bussed from farm to farm in rural Georgia, and just had no idea where they were. So I want to appreciate that. And then on a lighter note, I want to say that little shout out to the Duffer brothers, who are Durham natives, because we just had the end of a 10-year-long saga in Stranger Things. So for those of you who haven't watched it, I'm not going to spoil
No spoilers, please.
any endings. I know. I literally was like, wait
a few more episodes.
If you want to become the least popular politician, I think, in the whole world, that you just spoil the ending of a major series. But I'm not going to make any spoilers, but I do think that they did an excellent job, and I'm really proud of them being from Durham, and also loved hearing all of the references. I used to live on Cornwallis, right by that intersection of Cornwallis and Curly, which is where Will Byers disappears at the very beginning of season 1, and so it's always fun to hear those references. I just wanted to appreciate them. All right, look forward to a good meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councilmember Kopak.
Good evening, everyone, and a very happy new year to everyone. It's really a pleasure to be back here with you, with my colleagues, with staff, with residents. I want to start by adding to the celebration of Tri and Dr. Boone and Mr. Boone for your work over the last 25 years, and thank you for your commitment to this community. So congratulations, and thank you for that work. In honor of Martin Luther King Day, I want to mention that before our next meeting, there will be a number of observances, including on the 17th at the Walker Sports Complex at NCCU at 10:45 a.m., a book harvest event on the 19th from 1 to 4 at Boxyard RTP, and of course, following our next meeting will be the City Council official observance at First Presbyterian Church on the 27th. Like my colleagues, I want to acknowledge that while the holidays were a time of joy for many of us, they did bring sorrow for our community and some of our residents with the recent gun violence, and so I want to send love to everyone affected, and also thank our first responders and all of our neighbors who continually show up for their community and for their neighbors in times like these and in other challenges that we face. So thank you.
Councilmember Baker.
Good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year to you all. It's good to see everyone in the chambers. I hope that over the new year you were able to rest and reconnect and gather strength for all the work that we have ahead of us. As my colleagues have pointed out, we were met with, our community was really shaken by a spat of gun violence that has occurred, something that is clearly on all of our minds. So in 2026, we need to recommit ourselves to making our city a safe place for everyone, committing to that and making it a priority. At the same time, one of my colleagues mentioned the turmoil that we're seeing federally, globally. All of this is something that we're operating within. So here at the beginning of 2026, we are also at the beginning of the budget season. We are creating a budget in a time of turmoil where there are a lot of uncertainties, where cuts at the federal level are leading to cuts at the local level, jobs being lost or not being gained in places where they have been in recent years, and we're going to have to deal with that here at the local level and make the best decisions collectively for the future. So local government matters. I'm excited for this coming year and look forward to a productive meeting. Thank you.
Councilmember Burris.
Good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year. Super excited to be with you all. Well, not super excited. Happy to be back, though. I enjoyed my vacation with my family in Gastonia, so if I can get a time machine and go back 2 weeks, I would do it all over again. Congratulations, Dr. Boone and Mr. Boone, on your awesome work with TRI. I had the opportunity to work with you when I was in it's been a while, either grad school or undergrad, one of those, with adverse child, grad school, adverse child experiences. And also your advocacy around getting Narcan and make sure it's widely available. You called out a very important issue many years ago about the opioid use in Black communities and the implications. And so you were really intentional about putting it on the radar, and I appreciate you for elevating that, because we sometimes didn't receive the same amount of attention in our community as other communities got around opioid abuse. Talking about adverse childhood experiences, I want to send my sincerest condolences and heartfelt prayers to all the families who lost their loved ones over the holiday break. I think it's one of the most unnatural things in the world for a mother or a parent to bury their child. And we've long known that our homicide rate has remained really high in Durham. And so while we are taking efforts to address that, I think we can do two things at one time, in figuring out how to be a better community and making sure we are the village we want to see for our kids, making sure these mothers have support after the funeral, because we know if you've ever had to be, I was raised by a woman who buried all 3 of her children, that's when the pain really kicks in and figuring out the life experience of that. So really want to make sure we're uplifting and we're not being performative in what we're saying about these mothers who are forever, their lives are forever altered. Their siblings, their communities, everything. So I really want to just honor those who lost their children over this break and make sure that we are being intentional about how we bridge the gap and move together. I know there's a lot going on in the world right now, but I'm really hoping we can focus on making sure Durham is safe for all of our residents. And I look forward to accomplishing that work in the new year, looking forward to doing that with my colleagues as well, and make sure we put the same energy into that to make sure no their child has to go to school, losing their classmate, no mother has to bury their child, no sibling comes home without their sibling being there. So I've already started the outreach process with meeting with folks in Wellens Village. One of the hardest things is waking up and reading your emails and seeing and hearing what's happened in violent description. It's hard to actually see that. So I want to be intentional, make sure we're hearing the voices of people in the community. As we think about Durham and our growth, just think about how it impacts all levels of our ecosystem when we have hot spots of crime in our community and where people don't feel safe patronizing certain businesses or even doing their daily activities because of the known issue of gun violence in our community. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year. Thank you to all my colleagues for their remarks. A couple things. I do want to shout out, it is my youngest child's birthday this evening. He is 17 years old. So it's a bittersweet to have your youngest be almost, well, supposedly an adult. We'll see. I just really want to extend and hope for, and it is bittersweet. We had bad news here and bad news internationally right over the new year, right when many of us were hoping that we could turn that page and start the year fresh and start the year with lots of beautiful intentions. So very much resonate with what colleagues have already said, and I know we will have a hard and busy year in 2026. But I know that Durham's always up for a good fight, and so I look to our residents as always for inspiration and strength, and I know that we will dig down deeper for more resiliency because that is what's going to be required of us in 2026. Thank you.
Thank you, colleagues. And to everyone, I think that what you just heard was an expression from every single person up here of their commitment to making this community safer. From the proclamations of human trafficking, stopping it, to the work that Durham TRI is doing, to the commitments of us as policymakers. I think you also saw a very strong expression that it's not one person or one organization, it's everybody. And so my goal as mayor of this city is to make sure that every single person has a choice to better their lives. If you want to better your life, you should have the opportunity and resources to do just that. I have been thinking about our very piecemeal approach to making this community safer, whether it was singularly Bull City United or just ShotSpotter or just restorative justice or just HEART. All of those things matter, but none of those things will work in isolation. And I think, and I feel really confident about this, that we finally we've struck the right balance. Now we just have to execute. We just have to execute. We have a very community-centric, very community-focused, very community-driven, collaborative, comprehensive commitment and a plan of action to make our community safer. I know that it is possible. I've seen it done. And I'm really excited about where we're potentially going to end up. I was interviewed today, Mayor, what do you think about the shooting the other night? And I responded confidently about what we're doing together now as a community, because that's what it's about. It's about what we are going to do to make sure that that does not keep happening, because it is preventable. So I'm looking forward to treating violent crime in our community as a triage. And from triage to diagnosis, from diagnosis to treatment, from treatment to prognosis. And it's going to take everybody. And as I always say, I'm interested in working with contributors, not just commentators. So it's been unfortunate that we've experienced some of the things we have in our community. And yes, you know, some people say, well, this happens in cities. I don't accept that. It doesn't have to happen in ours. And to the things that we're seeing internationally, I've been asked about that too. I have my thoughts. But I'll tell you what I have more than my thoughts. My action of what I can do right here on the streets. All politics are local. And I have colleagues that are sitting on this dais that are committed to making Durham a better place. And if we can make Durham a better place, we can make North Carolina a better place. We can make North Carolina a better place. We can make this nation a better place. So we all know our lane, and let's do the best we can in our lane. And that's how we impact an entire environment. So colleagues, I'm grateful for you all. And Councilmember Burris, thank you for that outreach. That's something I used to do. Every time a parent would lose a child, I would go and sit on their couch and just spend time with them. And it's going to mean the world, that whoever. So thank you. And yeah, let's get to work. I hope everyone enjoyed the holidays. Let's make 2026, let's be selfish and make it good and better than 2025 for all of us. All right? Let's get to work. I'm with you on that short meeting part. All right. Madam Clerk, I got your printout here. This is consistent with what you just emailed me? Yep. All right. Do we have online or? Yeah, let's. Okay. Okay, got it. All right, let's get to it. At this time, I will call on Mr. Manager for your priority items.
Thank you, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council.
Mr. Manager, I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
Colleagues, I need to request an excused absence for February 5th. February 5th. I don't think I'm going to be able to get back in town in time, but I'm really excited about going to represent us and bring some resources back home. So you can facilitate that.
Could I get a motion, please?
So moved. A second?
Moved by Councilmember Riss, seconded by moved by Councilmember Baker, seconded by Councilmember Riss. Madam Clerk, could you please open the vote? Could you please close the vote? Thank you.
The motion passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll be reporting out on that really soon. Right, Emmanuel? All right. All right, Mr. Manager, now on you.
Thank you, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. Happy New Year from the staff, and we're excited to start the new year with you. I have the following two priority items for both agenda item 15, which is the public hearing, the second public hearing on the FY 2024-2025 Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, and for agenda item number 11, the update on Forever Home Durham. that were received at the work session. For both of these, the additional information requested during the December 15th City Council meeting has been attached under priority items by the City Manager, City Attorney, and City Clerk. There are no other priority items from the City Manager's office this evening.
Thank you so much. Madam Attorney.
Good evening, Mayor Williams, Madam Mayor Pro Tem, and members of the council. It's good to be with you. City Attorney's Office is going to start the new year off with no priority items.
Thank you, Miss Magazine Cover. For you all, Southern, what is it called? Southern what?
Southern City.
Southern City Magazine. Our city attorney is the cover of it. It's really cool. She'll be signing autographs throughout the week. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening and Happy New Year, Council. The City Clerk's Office has no priority items this evening.
Thank you so much. At this time, I will go ahead and read the consent agenda. Item number 1, Durham Cultural Advisory Board appointments. Number 2, Human Relations Commission appointment. Item number 3, contract SW104 sidewalk repairs 2026. Item number 4, contract SW104 inspections for sidewalk repairs 2024 bond referendum. Item number 5, contract SW105 sidewalk repairs bond 2024 bond referendum. Item number 6, resolution accepting amendment number 1 to North Carolina Land and Water Fund Flood Risk Reduction Grant Contract CT 21819 for the South Ellerby Restoration Project. Number 7, contract amendment number 2 to BR-10C Bridge Professional Services. Number 8, contract BR-15C Bridge Professional Services 2025. Number 9, street and infrastructure acceptances. Number 10, resolution accepting a $392,495 drinking water state revolving fund emerging contaminants study principal forgiveness loan. Number 13, Consolidated Annexation 5502 Wake Forest Highway. Number 14, Consolidated Annexation Sagebrook Townhouses. Those are our public hearings. That is our consent agenda, and we have our, of course, public hearings. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved to adopt consent agenda.
It's been moved and properly seconded to accept the consent agenda. That's right. Madam Clerk, please open the vote. Please close the vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. All right, we're now ready for the staff report. Item number 13, Consolidated Annexation 5502 Wake Forest Highway.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, honorable members of council. I'm Aaron Kane with the Planning and Development Department, and I'm happy to be here with you tonight. Before I begin, staff would like to state for the record that all Planning Department hearing items have been advertised and noticed in accordance with state and local law, and affidavits of all notice are on file in the Planning and Development Department. A request for a utility extension agreement, voluntary annexation, and initial zoning map change has been received from Neil Ghosh of Morningstar Law Group for one parcel of land totaling 2.33 acres and located at 5502 Wake Forest Highway. This annexation petition is for a non-contiguous expansion of the corporate limits, though the request is contiguous to an existing satellite. The applicant has also requested a zoning map change to commercial general with a textual development plan to allow for future development consistent with CD zoning and the restrictions on the proposed development plan. The properties are currently designated mixed-use neighborhood on the place type map. The proposed CGD zoning is generally consistent with the place type. If the proposed zoning is approved, there will be no change to the place type designation of mixed-use neighborhood. Thank you. Staff and the applicant are here for any questions.
Thank you for that staff report. Colleagues, are there any technical questions for staff before we open the public hearing? Councilmember Cook.
Thank you. Good evening. Happy
evening.
New Year.
Happy New Year.
I would like you to just talk about the consistency issue with the new UDO.
Okay.
Can you just explain it to us one more time? That it's going to be inconsistent with the new UDO as it's going to be written? That was my understanding from the Planning Commission meeting.
That was going to be inconsistent with the new UDO?
Yes, so if we didn't make the zoning map change tonight and the new UDO were adopted, that this project would then be inconsistent with that zoning.
So yeah, for technical reasons, the Planning Commission public hearing was a year ago, so we're obviously a lot farther in that process now than we were then. And we have refined a lot of the things we're going to be doing with the UDO moving forward. My recollection of that conversation was that, if you were to approve the zoning tonight, we would not consider it inconsistent with the new UDO. We have refined and defined, and I might turn to Sarah for any of these specificities, but we would not consider it inconsistent. It might not get a zoning district of the new UDO because with a development plan, we would keep that commercial general with a development plan zoning on the site. But I don't think we'd consider it inconsistent.
Sure. Good evening, Sarah Young. It's important to also remember that at the time when we first drafted the new zoning map to go with the new UDO, a lot of what we were doing was translating the future land use map, doing kind of a straight translation, and not necessarily taking into account kind of case-by-case issues. Certainly as council makes decisions on cases, we continue to update what the map is to reflect what you all's will is through your approvals. So it may not necessarily comport with what our original translation from the place type map was, but certainly if the council were to approve something, the new zoning map would be reconciled to match that.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense, but I would imagine that would be pretty much what everything, it would be all, and it was just interesting because this case particularly, there was like a lot of conversation around the consistency piece. And that's why I thought that there was something more going on, because if that's the case, then we should have, that would be the same conversation we would be having with every other annexation specifically.
That's exactly right.
Rezoning. Okay, why did it take a year for us to get it?
There were some technical issues with the extension of water and sewer lines, getting the SUDs, the summary utility development statement completed, as well as the utility extension agreement. It was an engineering issue, and once that was addressed, we scheduled it for council.
And that's normally not done before Planning Commission hears it?
Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. It just depends on how that's tracking, how that's able to get done. It often is done before Planning Commission, but not necessarily.
Okay, I don't have any further staff questions. Thank you.
Just one follow-up question on that. So this is conversion, this would be a rezoning to CG with a development plan. So under the new UDO, assuming everything moves forward smoothly, under the new UDO, the new map, it would no longer be the same requirements that are under the existing UDO's CG requirements. It would be under the new requirements of the new UDO, unless they started moving forward with some sort of site plan immediately.
Correct. If they were to submit a site plan prior to the effective date of the new UDO, they would have what's called permit choice.
Vested. Yeah.
Yes, and they could go under the old rules or the new rules. If they submit a site plan after that date, they'll be subject to the new rules, but they'll also be subject to the development plan.
Thank you.
Any other? All right, thank you. So at this time, we'll declare the public hearing open. How much time do you think you need?
Three minutes.
Madam Clerk, 5 minutes, please.
And thank you, Mr. Kane, for your presentation. Good evening, Mayor Williams, Mayor Pro Tem Caballero, and members of the City Council. I'm Neil Ghosh with the Morningstar Law Group at 700 West Main Street. And I'm here on behalf of the applicant and owner of these properties, Les Brouillard. Mr. Brouillard and his wife have owned this property for about 25 years. They're not seasoned developers, though Mr. Brouillard is a real estate broker. The point is that they understood that one day development would come to this area, and they invested in this hard corner because of its location. It's their desire to rezone the property and make it marketable as a commercial opportunity as part of their retirement and estate planning strategies. The request is to rezone to commercial general to allow some services at a key intersection in a location that has seen a lot of residential development. There is no current plan for the site, no end user, no prospective tenant. However, we're hoping someday that it would provide some retail. Obviously, with all the residential development in the area, this will be a good location for a small commercial use. Right at the corner, there's already a lot of pass-by traffic and more to come, but the site is only 2.3 acres in total, and so it will likely be a small one-off operation. We actually had 3 neighborhood meetings for this project, but that's mostly because of changes in the process and timing issues on our end. As you've heard, we also had a fairly significant delay related to the UEA. We really had not heard from a whole lot from the community until the last neighborhood meeting. And really, I think that was mostly frustration with the notification process rather than the zoning itself. The Planning Commission recommended approval for this request by a vote of 5-3. And as I recall, it was a fairly short hearing. I think that reflects that while the textual development plan might leave some questions unanswered, the reality is that a small commercial use at the hard corner of 98 and Kemp Road simply makes a lot of sense. There's really not a whole lot more to it. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have and hope to have your support tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I will start with our online speakers. All right, Ms. Vicki King, can you hear me? Vicki King, can you hear me? Let's see.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, there you go. Welcome. You have 3 minutes to speak on item 13.
I will not need 3 minutes. I feel that this piece of property should not change zoning because of the residents that are close by. I feel that there's already too much traffic on Highway 98 and at the intersection of Kemp Road, and that this would probably slow down that flow even more. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. King. Next, I have Penny Mays. Penny Mays, can you hear me? I'm sorry, nope, stop. Never mind. That's a different item. That's the next case. All right, I'll now move to our in-person speakers. All right, I'll call up, 2 speakers, Donna Standback and Pam Andrews. You said Rosemary Grant. You said Rosemary Grant.
Yes.
Okay.
How do I lower this down? Is there a way to lower this down? I'm not that tall. I don't know how to do it.
It's all right. Yep,
Tina's
there you
got
go.
it. Tina's got it. Thank you.
This is how you know. You come up here a lot. You know how to work the podium.
She's my helper tonight. All right. Good evening, everyone. Pamela Andrews, Wake Forest Highway. I want to just go to the next slide, Tina. The orange star here is a small mechanic shop. They've been there forever. The red stars are Triple Crown Farm, entrance and exits. The yellow star is this site. Perry's Farm is just south of the charter school that's there, and Howard's Place is the blue star. Across the street is a big development that includes a golf course and a development. It is a very, very busy intersection, yet no fire and EMS station has been built in the area. Next slide. The property sits on top of this hill as you go up 98 Highway. It is proposed RD in the new UDO with limited commercial. The area needs purposeful commercial. The business needs to be identified so the community can have real input. Next. While PRD recognizes the need for commercial in the area, I want to show you a few images of wrecks that have happened in close vicinity to this property. We continually bring up the dangers of Highway 98 along with the increased traffic volume due to the 68 new developments approved or pending. A new fire and EMS station is needed and has been promised for several years. So can you flip through those, Tina? Thank you. One more. All right. The new run totals just came out this last week. Engine 8, which is in our area, is 1,673 calls. Engine 17, 1,001 calls. Ladder 17, 704 calls. And there still is no ladder truck at Station 8. They service our area, and there is a lot of activity. Next. Since 2020, over 22,000 dwellings have been approved in Southeast Durham. Over 50,000 additional people will live in Southeast Durham. Where is the much-needed infrastructure? There are no scheduled City of Durham or NCDOT roadway improvement projects in this area per the zoning map report. Next. The environmental. Environmental concerns always exist in the Triassic Basin soils of Southeast Durham. This property will likely be clear-cut, followed by blasting. The runoff will flow downhill to this pond that you see here. The drainage from this pond leads via the spillway down the hill to the tributary, which then flows to Lick Creek. This tributary was slammed with sediment, leading to 2 neighborhood sites receiving fines and a stop work order, which was the first of its kind, in March and September of 2024. This tributary and the environment deserve better. When asked about the erosion control methods that would be used, no answer was really given at the meeting, which the community finally attended because we finally found out about this and attended that last hearing, which is why 19 people showed up. Adding more traffic to this highway is not the answer. Leaving an open invitation to development under commercial general is alarming. We need commercial out there with all these 20,000 developments, but we need it to be purposeful development, not an open invitation. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Ms. Steinbach.
Good evening, Durham City Council. My name is Donna Steinbach. My address is on file. I live in 3 miles or so from this location, and I use Highway 98 on a regular basis. This is where I was raised. So my concern is also that it is open-ended and it has so much traffic and it's so backed up, and we need defined development in this area. And I was going to go over the numbers because Pam had to go through them more quickly. What you can see here is the picture of the Little Lick Creek drainage. What Highway 98 does is kind of run through the middle, so there's only 3 major highways that would take traffic from the feeders and all this new development. Those are Highway I-85, which wouldn't take as much, and US 70 and Highway 98. And Highway 98 is the only 2-lane highway, and as Pam stated, it has a lot of issues. So looking at the growth within the urban growth boundary for Southeast Durham for 2020 to 2025, you see that there are total approved dwellings is 20,000, I'm just going to round up, and the additional population is 46,000, and the vehicles per day is 155,000. So that's a significant increase as to what you're seeing, and that's the reason why we brought up issues and done traffic studies with Highway 98. Now, with the pending developments of 2020 dwellings and additional population of 5,336 and 18,835 increased vehicles, the totals are like a small, not a small town, a regular sized town, a medium sized in North Carolina, with the total dwellings being 22,374, and the additional population of 51,461, and the increased vehicles per day of 173,970. So this area has received a lot of neglect as far as the, especially 98 and US 70, and thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stenback. All right, those are all of the speakers that I have. Would you like to respond, Mr. Applicant?
So I just want to respond to one of the things, or a couple of things that we heard. Number one is, the idea that this is some sort of blank check for development on this site. It's very clearly not. It has a textual development plan that eliminates several uses from possibility here. No, I can't tell you if it's going to be a CVS, a Sheetz, a Mechanics and Farmers Bank, a Chipotle. I don't know, right? But I can tell you that it won't be a nightclub, payday lenders, commercial dorms, electronic gaming operation, firing range, car wash. All those things have been eliminated. So this isn't just a blank check for development. The development plan also contains some very important information about how the site will be accessed. It's a right-in, right-out off of Highway 98. Full access is allowed off Kemp Road. And so it's pretty clear how the site will be accessed. Those are the only options that are available. It also provides for a 10-foot wide shared use path on both the south side of 98 and the east side of Kemp Road. And we have accommodated the Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee's request here by committing that that shared path would be designed to maintain its elevation where it crosses entrances to the property. So to suggest that, there hasn't been a lot of thought given here, I think that's false. With respect to the traffic numbers or traffic situation, I think you guys have probably heard retail follows rooftops. So that's not to suggest that there aren't trip generation numbers for retail uses, but the idea is here and in any location that you're not exactly adding traffic to the road network because of a development. You're capturing pass-by traffic that already exists. So that's why this corner is attractive for commercial use. And I think I'll leave it right there. Thank you. Happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you. These are all of the speakers that I have for this case. So at this time, I'll declare the public hearing closed and back before the council. Colleagues, deliberation. Councilmember Kopak, I'll start with you. All right. Councilmember Baker. Councilmember Burris. Councilmember Rist.
I have one question for staff, maybe for Mr. Kane. So just make sure I understand on the transportation question. So in the zoning map change report, you report current road rate capacity and latest traffic volume and average annual daily trips, right? That's the metric you use. And then there's also additional presentation about number of trips generated by the present designation, those generated by proposed, and that's in vehicles per day. So help me understand this sort of like how do I translate average annual daily traffic in vehicles per day? Is that?
So, and John Sandorn may be a better person to address this, but yeah, so there's a simple formula. Well, I don't know how simple it is, but there is a formula to determine based on the roadway, its configuration, the number of lanes, the type of classification that it has, as to what its capacity is. And that's shown in AADT as well as the volume numbers. Those, especially on a road like NC 98, NCDOT will take traffic numbers generally every 2 years. They try to get out and do those traffic counts. And that's what we're reporting here.
I guess my question is, so how's vehicles per day different from average? I mean, I know average annual daily traffic, you take all the trips in a year, right, divided by 360.
Well, so it's annual average daily trips.
Right.
So the AADT is based on counts. Okay, so when you see on the staff report, latest traffic volume, that's based on the most recent counts. It's an average over several days that the counts were taken. The roadway capacity is based on the type of road it is and about how many daily trips it can handle. When we look at the number of trips in the next section as the vehicles per day, that's based on the modeling of the current zoning and the uses expected in the current zoning and the proposed zoning and what the uses would be there. And there's a model.
It's a model.
There's a formula there. John can speak to that much better than I can. But that's the difference between the two.
And
yeah,
so,
I would say the AADT numbers are kind of the global, the macro side of things, and the vehicle per day numbers are the
projections based on model.
projections, the micro projections based on this particular site.
Okay, and so for Wake Forest Highway, so the data here shows that the current roadway capacity is 17,700 average annual daily trips, right?
Correct. That's the capacity, the model capacity of what a typical road like this can handle on a daily basis.
And then the latest traffic volume then is 15,000. So we're
getting close to that.
Right? Yeah. And so then under the traffic generated by proposed designation, it shows daily 2,116 vehicles per day. So if you add that to the average annual daily traffic, you're bumping up against capacity, but you're still within the capacity, is what you're saying.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Cook?
Can you just clarify, there's going to be a 10-foot multi-use path already? There's some confusion to me about what maybe the BPAC folks were asking for as opposed to what is already in the project, and this might be an applicant question too. I'm not sure who would be
So
who wants to address
BPAC generally asks for a 12-foot multi-use path. We require a 10-foot multi-use path. That's usually the difference you're seeing in these staff reports between what BPAC is asking and what we're requiring and staff is willing to accept.
Okay, but it's along the same frontage that was requested?
Yeah.
That's correct. And the other thing that BPAC has asked for is that the 10-foot multi-use path remain at the same elevation across the entrance. And we are accommodating that in this request.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Thank you. I don't know. For some reason, the direction-wise of that was confusing to me. Let's see if I have any other questions. I think those are my questions. I just also want to say, I know you said that it was a 5-3 vote. It was a 5-3 vote. There was one person absent, so there was only four votes in favor at the Planning Commission. So just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Councilmember.
I do want to say, I do want to recognize the applicant. I know the BPAC, I'm a member of BPAC. As I think staff said, often asks for 12-foot wide multi-use path. I think 10 is usually what staff are asking. But I know BPAC also asks for the crosswalk at the level of the remaining in the level, even if it goes across traffic. And we don't often get that, so I appreciate you being willing to make that the raised crosswalk, keeping pedestrians at the level of the multi-use path while crossing. I think that's an important piece. So thank you on behalf of BPAC.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem? All right, thank you. All right, colleagues, I don't have any questions regarding this one, but I will on the next one that may be similar. But in that case, I'll go ahead and read this motion out. All right, I'll entertain a motion to adopt an ordinance annexing 5502 Wake Forest Highway into the city of Durham and to authorize the city manager to enter into a utility extension agreement with Leslie L. Brouillard and Patsy A. Brouillard.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Madam Clerk, please open the vote. I need 3 more people. I voted this time. All right, two more. I did not vote, I'm sorry. Is everyone?
Need Caballero and Cook.
Ah, there we go. All right, please close the vote.
Motion passes 5-2 with council members Baker and Burris voting no.
All right, thank you. Also, entertain a motion to adopt an ordinance amending the Unified Development Ordinance by taking property out of residential rural, residential suburban 20, and Falls Jordan Watershed Protection Overlay, District B, county jurisdiction, and establishing the same as commercial general with a textual development plan in Falls Jordan Watershed Protection Overlay District B, city jurisdiction.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Madam Clerk, please open the vote. Please close the vote.
The motion passes 6-1 with Councilmember Baker voting no.
All right, and lastly, I'll entertain a motion to adopt a consistency statement as required by North Carolina General Statute, Section 160D-605.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Madam Clerk, please open the vote. Please close the vote.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you so much. We'll now receive the staff report for item number 14.
Thank you. Mayor Williams, Mayor Pro Tem Caballero, and honorable council members, my name is Andy Lester. It's good to be with you tonight. A request for utility extension agreement, voluntary annexation, an initial zoning map change has been received from Neil Ghosh of Morningstar Law Group for 4 parcels of land totaling 17.381 acres and located at 0 and 2553 Chadwick Place and 2530 and 2518 Burton Road. This annexation petition is not contiguous to the primary corporate city limits. The current zoning is residential rural and residential suburban 20. The applicant proposes to change this designation to planned development residential 6.905 to allow up to 120 townhouse units. The properties are currently designated mixed residential neighborhood and established residential on the place type map. The proposed planned development residential 6.905 zoning is generally consistent with the designated place type. If the proposed zoning is approved, there will be no change to the place type map for mixed residential neighborhood and established residential. Thank you. Staff and the applicant are available for any questions.
Thank you. Colleagues, any technical questions for staff before we go into public hearing? All right, at this time, I'll declare the public hearing open. How much time do you think you need?
I don't know, more. 7 minutes, I guess.
Please put 10 minutes on the clock.
And thank you, Mr. Lester, for your presentation. Good evening again. I'm Neil Ghosh, attorney with the Morningstar Law Group, 700 West Main Street in Durham, and I'm representing the owners of this property on the request for rezoning and annexation. At first glance, it might not seem like it, but this is actually an infill project. Yes, it is a satellite annexation, but the community behind us, or to our east, I believe it's called Glen Forest, is actually on city water and sewer, even though they're not within the city limits. And when we talk about why infill projects are good or why satellite annexations are bad, one of the things that comes up is the avoidance of leapfrogging development and overextending utilities. So it's interesting because in this case, you don't have those issues. The city utilities are already right there, both in Chadwick and in Burton. So this is a satellite annexation in name only. At almost 7 dwelling units per acre, it represents the densest development in the area. I know some people might view that as a bad thing, but the comprehensive plan is aimed at densifying within the urban growth boundary to stop the proliferation of further sprawl. It proposes a maximum of 120 units on about 18 acres of land, and this is really efficient use of land, especially when you consider some of the significant proffers they have given. First, they have limited the maximum impervious to no more than 38% of the site, when the UDO would normally allow for 70% impervious here. They also have committed to limited impacts to existing steep slopes on the site. We've committed to no mass grading on the site, which means that the site will be developed in phases where each phase deserves less than 4 acres at a time. And what's important about that is that under the UDO, projects which do not utilize mass grading are not subject to tree coverage requirements. But we have treated this project as if it is not exempt from tree coverage requirements, and we are committing to 20.5% tree save. This project is well above the required tree coverage limit, which is 0 in this case, and we're even above slightly the regular tree coverage requirement, which would be 20%. We're at 20.5%. We also have a significant contribution to DPS, or Durham Public Schools, $60,000, considering that the project is calculated to result in only 2 additional students over the base zoning. And they've committed to green building standards, using native plant species. And they also have addressed the comments from the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, having committed to multi-use path and raised crosswalks at the entrances. Also, they have a strong affordable housing commitment for a project of this size. They've committed to 10 affordable units in the project, and that's not a percentage of the overall units, it's 10 units. So at a full build-out of 120 units, 10 units is a little bit over 8% of the overall units, which is more than most projects and definitely high for a project of this size. And when we went to Planning Commission, we had already agreed to handle the 100-year storm with our permanent stormwater measures, but community members asked for that same commitment to apply to the temporary S&EC measures during construction, which I thought was an astute technical point, and we have added that commitment. Another thing we heard from the Planning Commission was about the boundary buffer, of which we were showing none consistent with the UDO. And to be honest with you, I've been a bit confounded that despite recent changes to the UDO, which eliminated project boundary buffers between like uses, Planning Commission members still insist on having them in many cases, and the policy direction is a little unclear. That having been said, our team did look into boundary buffers, and we're prepared to commit to providing a 20-foot wide buffer along the northern and southern property lines. We have a graphic development plan, so we would show that graphically on the development plan. It is not currently on the development plan. As I understand it, there also will be a buffer, or a streetscape rather, along Burton Road anyway. And I did want to point out that to our east, a buffer would be quite detrimental. Before I was involved with the project, one of the bigger sticking points for a previous council was access to Chadwick Road. It's difficult to see on the map, but there actually is a strip of land 1 foot wide that goes across our Chadwick frontage and down the east side of the assemblage. We don't know why this strip of land was created, but it effectively cut off our access to Chadwick, and also all but ensured several existing lots to our east would remain landlocked. My clients, again, this is before I was involved in the project, they did a lot of legwork to determine who the owner of the land was, and they acquired it so they could address the previous council's concern related to access to Chadwick and potentially freeing up those landlocked parcels to our east. I give them a lot of credit for that task, for taking that task on, and that 1 foot strip parcel, that is included in this version of the project, which required a fair amount of revisions to accommodate that access. Anyway, the point is that the folks to our east actually want access to Chadwick Road, or that extension that runs through our site, and a boundary buffer would be inconsistent with that desire, so we don't want to put one there. In sum, I think this is a well thought out project with an unfortunately tortured past, but the applicant here has been responsive to council concerns, community input, and policy direction. The project is consistent with, I believe, 23 out of 27 applicable policies, which is about 85%, and some of the ones that we're inconsistent with cannot really be addressed by us. It is a strong infill project with robust environmental proffers, responsible infrastructure and building commitments, and a strong affordable housing component. We hope to have your support tonight, and thank you. Our team is available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Applicant. Mr. Ghosh. I will now acknowledge our online speakers. First person, Penny Mays. Ms. Mays, Penny Mays, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
There
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Welcome. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I'm Penny Mays. My address is on record. First, I'd like to address the property density of this proposed development. The density is much higher than the other surrounding areas. The proposed townhouses are in the middle of single-family houses on both sides of Burton, Cheek, and Glen Forest. And to quote the planning commissioners, and I may butcher his name, I apologize, Nick Kushner, the density as proposed would be too great a burden and detract from the character and aesthetics of the rural area. Its proximity to the voluntary agricultural district is a half mile. Rural residents are not appropriate. Rural residential areas are not appropriate for this type of development. 6 townhouses per acre, which is very much incongruent with the rest of the surrounding community. Also, I'd like to note that this is not within a 15-minute walking distance of stores, jobs, and businesses. The comprehensive plan with addresses rooted in connected communities, and I won't go through all of that, but the proposed zoning map change designation is not contiguous. It's not within existing community character. There are no businesses and schools within 2 to 5 miles. It's not near a transit route or over 2.4 miles west. There's no existing sidewalks or bike lanes in the vicinity along Burton or Cheek Road. And so this essentially is urban sprawl. It's car-centric and there's no parks. So thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mays. Next speaker I have Michael Wilburn. Can you hear me, Michael? Michael Wilborn.
He's here. I'm here.
All right, welcome. You have 3 minutes.
Good morning, sir. Good evening, sir, and good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I want to speak briefly to what the gentleman said a while ago. That was telling about representing the developer, I guess. I live at 2601 Ardsley Drive. I'm 1 block from Chadwick Place. I'm still on the well. My son is at 2515 Ardsley, which is in Glen Forest. He's still on a well. There's several people on this street that's still on wells. I don't know what the name of the subdivision is on Burton Road that they're building to, I guess it would be to the north of us if you go out of Densmore Lane. But they're doing blasting over there now. They got a big rock out there they're blasting. We're really worried about our wells over here because if they have to blast up there where this is proposed, we're going to have blasting on both sides of us. And I just want to make a quick statement about some other stuff, and I'll be very brief. I'm worried about the traffic count. A lot of the neighborhood here has small children. I'm worried about all this traffic in the neighborhood. A lot of us walk. We walk with small children. Unfortunately, I'm older now, and I can't walk with small children. My children are grown. But we have a lot of small children in the neighborhood, and I'm worried about this impervious water runoff. We're very, very close to Falls Lake, within 1 mile or 2 miles from Falls Lake. I'm worried about all this runoff and pesticides going into the lake, and it's very concerning to me, and I hope you guys will take that in consideration. We're out here in the county. We got to leave some, I have no problem with development. We got to leave some of Durham rural. We have to have places for the wildlife and stuff. We're going to keep on. We're running them out of their homes. They've got nowhere to go. We're killing them on the streets. I'm not a tree hugger and I'm not a wildlife hugger, but I'm just thinking about everybody and would ask that you please consider that when you make your decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilborn. Next speaker, Mary Wilkins. Mary Wilkins. Ms. Wilkins, if you can unmute yourself.
Mr. Mayor, Ms. Wilkins is not responding.
Okay. I'll come back if need to be. Last speaker I have is Katie Ross. Hi, Ms. Ross. You have 3 minutes.
Mr. Mayor, Ms. Ross is unmuted, but we can't hear her.
Katie, can you hear us? Ms. Wilkins, are you there? Ms. Ross, can you hear us? We can have tech just keep working with them. I'm going to move to in-person speakers, and I'll come back. All right, first few speakers. It's Donna Standback, Talmadge Layton, Becky Hamilton. Yep, just do it how you do it. Come on up. I have Donna Standback, Talmadge Layton, Becky Hamilton, Rebecca Freeman, Tina Motley Pearson, Pam Andrews, Wanda Allen, Pam Williams, and Wanda Allen is twice. In your preferred order.
Okay, Pam Andrews. Okay.
Ms. Ross, can you hear me?
Okay, sorry.
So, Madam Clerk.
I'm back. Hello? Hello?
Okay, yeah, there you go. Go ahead, you have 3 minutes.
Okay, I don't think I'll need 3 minutes because you've got great comments already. So what I wanted to talk about was this being a donut hole outside the city limits and creating a pocket of density out in a rural area. And that contradicts the comprehensive plan. And the comprehensive plan contemplates density growing from the center out, not starting on the outskirts and coming in, which automatically makes things car dependent because they're not near the center of town. I just would also say that I know a lot of you quote or think you're quoting the abundance theory. That I actually read that book, and the idea is exactly what I said, that density is centered in the urban areas for the reason to preserve the rural areas and farmland and all of that. And this is the opposite of that. It's not what is stated as the goal of the comprehensive plan, and it's not what any of you have stated as your goals. So I would ask you to, again, comply with the comprehensive plan and to reject this donut hole development. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ross. Ms. Wilkins, can you hear us? All right, ready?
Good evening, Council. I'm Becky Freeman, and I live in Southeast Durham, and my address is on file. The proposed site for Sagebrook Townhomes is an environmentally sensitive area. It has 2 streams, and one in the northern area, and the second stream is on the western part of the properties along the entire frontage, road frontage on Burton Road. Both streams are significant. Both require 100-foot buffers on each side. The only egress and ingress points for vehicles to access the property are both crossing these streams. There are 1.1 acres of wetlands and 4 acres impacted by this this project. We're asking for commitments on certain environmental things tonight. We're asking for there be established, that they establish a strict environmental monitoring referencing the EPA Virginia best practice. We'd like for them to maintain 100-foot undisturbed stream buffers to protect and provide habitat for our wildlife and erosion impact. If you have committed to no mass grading, which I understand that's what you're saying tonight, we're asking that you commit to no clear cutting of all the properties at one time, leaving exposed soil for erosion. We're asking for tree preservation at 30% per phase of the development. We're asking for a minimum of 30-foot property buffer with 0.6 opacity. It's currently 0.2. Requesting no variances or waivers to riparian buffers, tree preservation, tree removal, or impact to wetlands. We're asking commitment to no impact to 1.12 acres of wetlands. Wetlands are used by wildlife for shelter and additional forage. There's already enough flooding in this project area reported by neighbors, and removal of wetlands increases floodings. We want a commitment to no blasting that impacts neighbors' wells and increases sediment and runoff and impacts topography and the slopes. In 2024, the taxpayers were burdened with over $73.9 million to clean up creeks and lakes that were as a result of the construction runoff. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next.
Good evening, Pamela Andrews, Wake Forest Highway. I want to talk about tree preservation first. Damaging the streams and wetlands comes with huge consequences to the environment. The tree preservation is required is 20% per the zoning map report. That's what's in the zoning map report. 20.5 is proffered, receiving an exceeded mark. That equates to 0.09, 900 acres of extra tree save. This does not exceed, in our opinion. The stream buffers account for all the proposed tree preservations acres required. This is not acceptable. Flooding will increase. Sediment-laden creeks will flow into Panther Creek, which flows into Falls Lake. We also ask for commitment to no variances, as Becky said, in the wetlands and buffers, which has been the case in many times. All stream, wetland, and steep slope buffers should be undisturbed. 30% tree restoration is needed in Triassic Basin soils, equating to 5.21 acres. Thank you. Neighbors already suffer from flooding issues in this area. These are my photos of a friend's home. This is a friend's drive on Burton Road with massive flooding with every rain. An additional 13.8 acres clearly will simply increase the flooding problem. The Southern Environmental Law Center recently published the following: wetlands prevent flooding, improve our water quality, and protect wildlife as well. Saving the wetland protects our communities. When it rains, our wetlands act like natural sponges that absorb floodwaters, lowering flood levels and slowing the rise of waters downstream, a life-saving combination for North Carolina. A 1-acre wetland can typically store 1.5 million gallons of water. So when developers and industry destroy wetlands, communities lose flood protection. Damaging the wetlands will cost millions of dollars to property damage. We need this 1.1 acres of cumulative wetlands to be spared and protected, not destroyed. 30-foot boundary buffers should be provided to the neighbors within RS20 and RR. Even Planning Commissioner Montez stated that the developer needed to provide these buffers for the neighbors. Currently, RS20 homes get no buffer per the zoning map report, and RR neighbors get 0.2. This is not acceptable. Tall townhomes towering over single-family story homes would leave no privacy to residents. I have an elderly aunt and uncle that live at the base of this project. They deserve better than this. In their late 80s, they deserve better. Blasting, no buffers, it's just inhumane. Not to mention, this is rural residential area. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Hi, I'm Wanda Allen. Happy New Year to you guys.
Happy New Year. It's good to see you.
And my address is on file. I live near this area, and my family actively farms this area. On September the 9th, 2025, the Planning Commission did not recommend this proposal. That meeting included Councilmember Matt Kopak. As shown on the slide, the proposed townhouse with a PDR of 6.9 would be surrounded on both sides of Burton, Cheek, and Glen Forest by single-family homes. The nearest comparable development is a PDR of 1.9, which highlights a significant density mismatch. Planning commissioners stated it well. The density as proposed would be too great of a burden for this area. This site is surrounded by active, I said active, agricultural, including 8 present use value farms and 5 voluntary agricultural districts. There is concerns about traffic entry and exit, particularly on how this development would affect the neighbors' emergency access and overall public safety. When combined with farm equipment regularly using these roads, the project creates health and safety risks. As stated by the planning commissioners, this type of development is not appropriate for this area. It does not meet the needs of the existing rural community and threats the long-term survival of the farms. There is, you guys, real farming in this area, and it exists today, and I ask you to please vote against this and please vote against it and protect us as farmers. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Good evening, Durham City Council. My name is Donna Steinbach, and my address is on file. I am a lifelong member of this community that this site is in and have extensive neighboring family. Sagewood is legally a satellite, and the services are more than just water and sewer. From the planning department, regarding policy 165, this proposal is not contiguous with existing city limits and would create a new satellite portion of the city. See the map there? I've highlighted the area by the county all around it and the closest city project that's being built now with 1.9. The other projects in the area are Panther Creek with 1.69, and Carpenter Woods has a PDR of 2.0. Services like police, 911, EMS, and fire will be strained by this highly dense development and confusion of service providers and being on the outskirts of the area. This policy 165 also says that annexation into the city limits should not be considered that should only be considered, when substantial benefit to the community can be demonstrated. As you've heard from the community, we're not seeing benefit. North Carolina General Statute GS 160A-58.1 says that quote, the area must be so situated that the annexing city will be able to provide the same services within the proposed satellite corporate limits that it provides with its primary corporate limits. Now, we have experienced substantial growth. I presented this slide earlier, but essentially we've got total new dwellings of 20,000 and 54, and the additional population now of 46,125. If we have not extended our services, and we have not seen them being extended, that this will cause a considerable lack of infrastructure in these areas that are needed. The fire, the EMS was not even covered in the budget analysis. Call center, 911, police, sheriff, medical, hospital, school capacity, and the grids. This strain with such a high-density PDR will make things worse thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stanback. Next.
Good evening, all. I appreciate y'all being here and listening to our plea. I want to make sure you understand that I am against this project as designed. I do appreciate them looking at a 20-foot buffer around the project, but we are asking for a 30-foot undisturbed buffer around the project with the 0.6 opacity and to add trees to it. Existing now, there's trees around the property, as you can see. And if they're providing a 38% impervious, then why can't they provide more trees around the property, boundary property, to provide for the neighbors, to provide for the wildlife? As we have seen in many other developments where they provided a 20-foot buffer or even a 10-foot buffer or whatever, that buffer only means the house or townhouse can't be built in that 20 feet. We're asking for 30 feet undisturbed buffer. And we have several properties where at the property line of Page Poke, of Dot Nichols, and the property line of the Ericksons, they came up, they dug down 20 feet, 15 feet straight down at the property line. That is what we do not want. We want undisturbed 30-foot buffer and a 0.6 opacity. Again, even the commissioners on the planning committee said that that should be provided for these neighbors around this property. Here are some examples of, I know he's saying 20-foot buffer. He never said what opacity for the 20-foot buffer. Here's a 10-foot buffer shown here. Please look at how scarce that is. This is not acceptable for this rural community. Also, we don't really know what they're building in these townhouses. We know that these townhouses are only going to be 16 feet wide. So how is this really benefiting this community? What this community needs is, yes, something affordable, but something with bedrooms downstairs so we can take care of our family or our parents when they cannot live in the homes now. This is an older community, and we need something where older people can maybe move into a community like this. But 16-foot wide townhomes, 1,600 square foot lots are very minimum. Also, previously it had been stated that there's no garages here. So everything will be parking. And again, this is auto-centric. But the main thing I'm pushing right now is for the 30-foot undisturbed 0.6 opacity and with 38% impervious. I don't understand why that can't be provided for these neighbors in this community, but I do not agree with this high density. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Good evening. My name is Tina Motley Pearson, and my address is on file. We would like for you to commit to undisturbed stream buffers. If there is no commitment for undisturbed stream buffers, then up to 70% of the buffers can be used for clear cutting, grading, sediment ponds, retaining walls, sewer easements, drainage ditches, trails, etc. Buffer variances should not be allowed. Let me draw your attention to the middle photo at the bottom of the slide, and you can see that this area that should have been left as a protected buffer, but was cleared of trees and habitat for the sewer easement. Now, the second part of this, I'm just going to talk to you about EMS. There's no slide for this. So policy 119 says, and I quote, ensure new development within the urban growth boundary or within the established level of service for emergency services, such as fire, EMS, police, and community safety. They state that they are consistent by meeting city code, but they're dodging EMS because EMS is not provided by the city. EMS is provided by the county. So I would like to ask, has EMS been analyzed? Policy 119 is important, and recently the Durham County Commissioners have noted EMS services have been greatly lacking for years in Southeast Durham. If there is one EMS call at a time, it may be covered. But what about the higher probability for multiple EMS calls at a time when you're adding thousands of new residents in an area? How long can you keep ignoring the lack of EMS services in Southeast Durham? I know Durham City Council is responsible for city decisions, but EMS is a huge concern with lives at risk. And as a thought experiment, do you think it would be fair if Durham County Commissioners were able to pass annexations on property that needed utilities provided by the city, assuming the city would provide services without an agreement? No, it wouldn't be fair, nor would it be responsible. The county and city need to work together so that there are adequate services for the citizens of Durham. Please consider lack of EMS services before adding more housing to an area that is already struggling to keep up with all the growth. Thank you very much.
Good evening. Thank you for listening. My name is Betty Hamilton. I live on Patterson Road. I am just a member of the neighborhood. I wanted to bring to your attention the traffic situation. The traffic between Burton Road and Cheek Road has increased 16% from 2021 to 2023. There have been 9 crashes at Cheek Road and Burton during a 3-year period. It is a 4-way stop. The annual average daily traffic is 4,679 with the last traffic count. It's anticipated with this project an increase of 864. The entrance and exit to this project is within a very short distance of this 4-way stop at Cheek Road and Burton Road. We have just seen a grand opening sign for Carpenter Falls. We've seen about 3 other things that are being considered. We'd like for you to look at and not pass this until a traffic impact has been done, because if you go out at any time during rush hour, you're going to be caught in traffic. It's a challenge. And if you want to know the challenge, I would suggest that you go from Cheek Road, Burton Road, up to Highway 98 and on out to Wake Forest, because it is a severe traffic problem at this time. You continue to put more projects in, you're going to continue to have more traffic, and at some point, we're going to have to turn and go to Creedmoor to get our groceries. Thank you.
My name is Talmadge Layton, and I live in this community a mile or 2 away from where the developer is. I own a farm within a 1.5 miles of it, and I began farming in 1965 when I graduated, but a year before I graduated from Southern High School, and took up full-time farming. And I don't ever remember anybody that deals with traffic or problems a development of this size is going to cause for agriculture, but I'm pretty sure they haven't in this area, because they would have talked to me. But I was roughly figuring what it took in a day's time for me to go harvest a field of hay and get back. We will make 15 trips from my farm to the field and back in order to harvest one field of hay. Now, this will happen over a couple of 3 days, but tractors only go about 12 miles an hour. The mowing machine I have is about 14 foot wide, and with the traffic on the highway, dodging mailboxes, getting into the oncoming traffic to go around a mailbox, takes a little while to get a mile and a half or 2 miles up the road. And the hours that I work go through 2 rush hour traffic times. And I can see people backed up behind me for quite a while as I drive up the road 2 or 3 miles to get to a field to harvest it. And the more traffic it is, the longer it'll take. And I don't think there's been anybody done any studies as to how this agriculture will affect traffic or how traffic will affect the agriculture that we're trying to do. And I just would like for you to think about agriculture at least one more time a day than the 3 that you think about it now. And you realize we're going to have to keep raising crops in order for us to eat. And to cause the problems that some of the development's doing, I would ask that you consider the cost you're putting on agriculture. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Layton, and all speakers. I want to try again. Ms. Wilkins, can you hear me? Ms. Wilkins, if you can hear me. All right. There we go. Welcome. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Mary Wilkins, and I am a resident in this community that's being talked about. The first thing I want to do is applaud all the people that have spoken to them. They have had very, very good reasons and things that should really be looked at. I submitted a list of things that I was concerned about, and so I won't go through all this, but I'll be very brief and say that you need housing. I'm not against development, but we don't have infrastructure to take care of the development. We don't have the medical facilities, we don't have the EMS, we don't have the schools, we don't have the roads, we don't have anything. I have a friend who has been at the hospital in an emergency room for days waiting for a bed. When you try and get a doctor's appointment, you can't get it because we keep developing and bringing people in without funding and addressing infrastructure. It's traffic, it's schools, it's the water and sewer, it's EMS, it's if you name it, 911. We have a wonderful volunteer fire department, but they cannot handle all of these developments. We are going to be at the mercy of whatever. I just want you guys to stop and think that infrastructure needs to come before the development, and funding for the infrastructure should be there before any development is approved. I really don't want to see townhouses all this fire in this area because there will be no privacy for the neighbors. All of the environmental concerns that have been addressed are very significant and should be looked at very carefully. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Wilkins. Mr. Ghosh.
I did want to just say, so there was a speaker who said they live off of Ardsley and they are still on well and septic. And to be fair, that might be the case, but I do also know for a fact that there is city water and sewer in Ardsley. And there's city water and sewer through those streets. We are in fact pulling city water and sewer from Chadwick, which we have frontage on, and Burton, which we have frontage on. The city water and sewer infrastructure is there. It is absolutely possible, and obviously seems to be the case, that some people who live on those roads might still be on well and septic, as we heard. But the point I was making is the infrastructure is there. This is not overextending the infrastructure to some far-reaching area of the city. The city infrastructure or city utilities are already there. There are 2 streams near this property. One of them goes through this property and the other one actually doesn't, and we wouldn't be crossing it, but we would be impacting the riparian buffer. And I just want to make that clear. Chadwick, the existing road, already crosses the stream, and the buffer for that stream overlaps onto this property. Now, I know this is a different city council, but when this project came to city council previously, some of you were on it, and one of the main hiccups that they had was that they weren't able to connect to Chadwick because they didn't have that 1-foot spite strip parcel as part of the project. Now that we do have it as part of the project, under the UDO, we would have to make a connection to Chadwick, which means we would, any development, one house, would have to impact that riparian buffer there. But it's not a stream crossing, so I wanted to point that out. There was a lot of, and to be fair, I'm not sure I quite understood it. There's a lot of talk about undisturbed riparian buffers. I mean, the riparian buffers are, generally speaking, undisturbed except where there is the crossings that we're talking about. Outside of that, I mean, there are some things that are allowed in a stream buffer, but it's an undisturbed stream buffer. I mean, that's what that's called, the riparian buffer. There are exceptions to it, and I couldn't speak to whether any of those exceptions would apply here, but generally speaking, the riparian buffer is referred to as an undisturbed riparian buffer. I think this project is, like I said previously, very well thought out. We're at 38% impervious, which is quite low. We have committed to handling the 100-year, both in the temporary and the permanent state. We have a robust affordable housing commitment, and it is a dense project, but that is in keeping with the direction and policy that we have taken directly from the comprehensive plan. I cannot go without saying that the project, and this is in the staff report, is consistent with 23 of 27 applicable policies. That's a lot. And the ones that they're not consistent with have to do with, well, it being a non-contiguous annexation, which it is. That is absolutely the case. Then not being within a half mile of a public park. True, there is no public park out here. Also, not having design commitments related to accessibility for all age groups. One of the things that's challenging on this site is its topography. I've worked on projects where we've been able to make commitments related to having some number of homes that you can enter at grade. On this site, we don't know that that will be possible on any of the units, so we haven't made that commitment. And the fourth item relates to the public amenities not being available on the site. Essentially, that these are the open space would be privately held. That is also true, and I think we've had some conversations on this, or I've had some conversations with council members about why that's the case on nearly every project. So, the project is, I think it stacks up really well against the town or the city's adopted plans, and I look forward to hearing your feedback. Our team is available to answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Those are all of the speakers that I have for this case. At this time, I'll declare the public hearing closed and back before the council. Mr. Kovac, why don't you start us out again? Madam Clerk, I'm hearing some feedback. Hold on. Councilmember, we're going to take a 10-minute break. I don't want to get us into discussion and go past the 9 o'clock mark. So we are recessed until 9:04.
I came to the city to develop leadership and supervisory skills. I stayed because of the city's culture and dedication to serving residents. The City of Durham, where careers meet community. To connect with a career that serves the Bull City, visit durhamnc.gov/careers.
I came to the city for the great insurance and retirement benefits, but I stayed for stability and vacation time. The City of Durham, where careers meet community. To connect with a career that serves the Bull City, visit durhamnc.gov/careers.
I came to the City of Durham to improve living conditions for residents, and I stayed because I'm encouraged to advance my career. The City of Durham, where careers meet community. To connect with a career that serves the Bull City, visit durhamnc.gov/careers. Vine a la ciudad de Durham para mejorar las condiciones de vida de los residentes. Me quedé porque me apoyan a avanzar en mi carrera. La ciudad de Durham, donde las carreras se encuentran con la comunidad. Para conectarse con una carrera que sirve a la ciudad del Toro, visite durhamnc.gov/careers.
Falling behind on your bills? Even if you owe more than you can handle, you still have rights. Most legit debt collectors follow the rules, but bad debt collectors don't. They break the law. So if you get a call like this,
if you don't pay, we will have you arrested and deported.
Or this
is your final warning. Pay up now or we'll contact your employer and make them pay.
Hang up and report it to the Federal Trade Commission. You have the right to be treated fairly no matter what. That means debt collectors can't use abusive language, threaten violence, or harass you. Or call you before 8 in the morning or after 9 at night. They can't lie or pretend to be someone they're not.
I'm an attorney and will take legal action if you don't pay this debt right away.
Or get you to pay a debt that doesn't even exist. They can't have you arrested or deported or tell anyone about your debt. Bad debt collectors like to knock you off your guard to get an advantage, create a sense of urgency, and rush you. They'll say anything to get you to pay right now. Instead, hang up and report it to the Federal Trade Commission at ftc.gov/complaint. We've stopped a lot of bad debt collectors. Help us stop more. For more information about debt collection, visit consumer.gov/debt.
All right, thank you all. Let's get back to work. We had just ended the actual public hearing, and it was declared closed. We're back before the council at this time. And Mr. Kopak, I'll go ahead and start with you, and I'll come down that way and then to the other side.
Just getting set up again here. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to start with a question for the applicant and then also a couple of technical questions for staff that were surfaced during the course of the public comment. So thank you, Mr. Ghosh. To start, I want to see what your response is to some of the requests that you've heard, particularly around the 30-foot undisturbed buffer. And if that is accepted, does that allow the opportunity for more tree save than is currently committed? Because it would be in that buffer area that was not originally provisioned for when this came before Planning Commission, and I guess when we first were sent the report of this case.
So I've been talking with Tim here, who's part of the civil team, about some of the things. Thank you, whoever did that. About some of the things that we heard. I wanted to refer to this image so we can all make sure we're on the same page. It might not be all that apparent, but these parcels generally, I think from here down, these are all landlocked parcels. And I just want to bring that up because one of the things the project does is it will extend Chadwick down this way. And that's relevant to your question because it's related to the project boundary buffers. I mentioned it earlier, but I figured a visual might be helpful. This is where we wouldn't want a project boundary buffer because that would be inconsistent with the desires of these property owners to our east who are hoping to become unlandlocked. So just want to put that out there. Now, where we are talking about having buffers is along this southern edge and along this northern edge. There also will be a streetscape along Burton that's, I mean, in other words, a buffer. But just to be clear, what I'm talking about rather, is along this northern edge and along the southern edge, what kind of buffer can be provided in that location. So a 30-foot undisturbed buffer, we won't be able to provide an undisturbed buffer. I think I mentioned that there is a lot of topography on the site, and it's going to require some earthwork. And one of the other things that we've committed to here, which frankly, from the conversation that I've heard, I feel like might have been a mistake to commit to because it doesn't seem like anyone actually cares, is that we are not doing any mass grading. If we were mass grading the site, that would actually give us some more ability to, I guess, contour the site and provide some undisturbed buffers, but because we are not mass grading the site, we have to manage each phase separately, and that means that we really can't commit to an undisturbed buffer. However, during the break and since we've been talking, I think we are able to commit to a 30-foot wide buffer on that southern and northern property line where I indicated. And this is a graphic development plan, so we would show that graphically on the plan as a revision if that's what the council would approve. So there would be we could do a 30-foot buffer. Now, your next question was, how does that impact, or does that mean we'll have more tree coverage? A question I can't answer, we're sitting here in City Hall without all of our tools, but in general, I think that the answer is it might be slightly more tree coverage because of the increased buffer. If you're asking, does it go from what we've already committed to, 20.5%, to I think the figure someone mentioned was 30%, I'm going to go out on a limb and say, no, that's not going to be 30% tree cover. I don't know what it will be.
And so in terms of understanding the opacity and that desire, is there any commitment you can make there, or would it be to
0.6 opacity is, I didn't mean to try to They're talked about two ways in the UDO, width and opacity. When I say 30-foot buffer, I'm talking about a 0.6 opacity. That's just what it is in the UDO. So, yeah, I mean, 0.6 opacity, 30-foot buffer.
All right, thank you. And then a couple questions for staff. The first is just trying to understand some of the concerns around, I've heard concerns around environmental sensitivity, of some of these areas. But when I look at the comprehensive plan, what I see is that the proposal aligns with the policies, 79, 84, 85, the ones that deal with environmental sensitivity. Can you help me understand where some of that dissonance may be coming from, and also how to think about it where we are now versus what would need to happen at site plan?
Sure. Regarding the policy 79, the way that we view that is because the UDO already has standards for certain environmental features, if you meet those requirements, you're consistent with like steep slopes or riparian buffers. So that's sort of how we view those specific policy instances within the report. Regarding your second question, do you mind rephrasing that?
Just understanding because it seems like some of the decisions we made at site plan versus at this stage, and how to think about variances that could be allowed at that stage versus what is known and committed to now.
Well, so with the rezoning, we're looking at sort of the 30,000 foot level for the site. Within the UDO, there are instances where you can impact riparian buffers. That's sort of predicated on state law that the UDO sort of mirrors. So within the UDO, you are allowed certain ways to impact streams, mainly their utilities or stormwater infrastructure can impact that. But generally speaking, buildings, parking cannot. So that's sort of how we view that.
The other question has to do with policy 165 and, hearing difference of opinions about the services that will be provided or not based on this being pegged as a donut hole, but yet there is existing city water and sewer. I think that was sort of generally agreed upon, but there was a question of other services that are provided by city and county and whether those are accounted for and will be provided.
Sure,
or would that be additional service levels, additional investments that need to be provided because of it being a kind of a donut hole? And so curious about, 165, the donut hole, but also policies like kind of 117, 118,
Sure.
about kind of what those impacts are.
Yeah, so there were no impacts identified by fire, police, solid waste, transportation planning. I know policy, I think 119 references EMS. We currently don't have a mechanism to account for that in our current procedure. I know late last year we have been in talks with EMS to try to sort of come up with a formula that aligns with what we do with our city services. So I know that's one of our goals this year with our increased bandwidth that we have, but currently we do not account for it. But that is one of the goals of that policy that we will tackle in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, go ahead. Mayor President.
Thank you. Mine's just really quick. I would just like to know, because I remember the 1 foot random parcel, and I just was trying to remember when we heard that case. And so if either the applicant or the...
It's a little over a year ago, I
I think it was spring of '24 is when that came to you.
When they came, but did they come before that too? Yep. When was that? October 2020?
That, I'm not sure.
It was about 2 years
Yeah,
ago.
we need to look that
I have
up.
all of it up.
Yeah.
It was October 2023 the first time.
Okay.
Sent back to staff, came back to council in January 2024. The applicant asked for a continuance, and it was heard by us February 2024, sent back to planning commission.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
For some reason, I had a memory of it being many, many years ago. Like literally, I was like, I think that was in 2022, but it was not.
Councilmember Baker.
A couple of questions for staff here. This is an interesting case because it is surrounded by low-density rural neighborhoods that are not part of the city, but they do have water and sewer. There are water and sewer lines that run up the streets.
Correct.
Are all of those homes tapped into the water and sewer?
Oh, I do not have that information on hand.
Okay. Part of the reason why I'm asking this question is just out of curiosity and interest in sometimes if there's some leapfrog annexation that occurs, it encourages and we can anticipate land owners, homeowners in between that leapfrog and more central parts of the city choosing to annex in because now they have sort of access to water and sewer that they can tap into, and therefore would want to, through that, annex into the city and get those city services, pay those city taxes. And I'm just curious here because if everything surrounding this case is in the county, will remain in the county, doesn't have much incentive to annex into the city because they already have water and sewer, they would have much less of an incentive to annex into the city in that case. So, but we don't have the answer to that. So just a question that I had. I also just wanted to ask a question. There was an interesting dialogue that happened between some of the folks who came and spoke and the applicant about the undisturbed buffer. And I just want to get some clarity if we can. There was a claim of, can you commit to an undisturbed buffer? And then the applicant said that it is pretty much already required, just the 100-foot buffer. Is that the case, or can the buffer actually be disturbed? It just can't be developed in. That's the question that I have.
Sure, that is correct. The UDO allows for certain intrusions into stream buffers. Those are typically utilities, stormwater devices, or greenway trails. Buildings and parking envelopes are not prohibited within the stream buffers.
Okay, so buildings and parking cannot go into the 100-foot stream buffer.
Correct.
But certain other things can go in. Okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted a little bit of clarity around that. And that's what I've got for now. Thank you.
Councilmember Burris.
Question for the applicant, please. So just want to revisit the question around ADA accessibility in terms of like just saying the topography would make it difficult, but you also have committed to do the raised sidewalk. So just want to know, just could walk me through a little bit more about like your ability to do it at the entrances, but will you be unable to make the entire sidewalks for the subdivision or whatever the townhome division out there ADA accessible? Because I'm really kind of concerned about that at this point.
Okay, so the sidewalks throughout the whole community will be ADA accessible.
Okay,
So just
but
to
you
be clear
can't build
about-
at grade to allow people with wheelchairs to be able to easily access the housing?
Right. So on some projects that I've worked on, we're able to make a commitment that says 5% of the homes will be accessible without the use of stairs, which basically means you can get through the front door without having to go up a set of stairs. Because of the topography of this site, we don't actually know if there's going to be, how many of those we'll be able to provide, if any, which is why we haven't made a commitment in that vein, right? It really has to do with making up the grade as you're building the site. So an individual home isn't required to be accessible by wheelchair, under current ADA standards. All of the infrastructure will be ADA accessible. So the sidewalks, the roads, any open space areas, that type of thing, that's all ADA accessible. That has to be. Each individual home can vary, and we just don't know if we'll be able to provide any significant number of homes that have at-grade entrances.
Okay, and then my next question is around your proffer for affordable housing. So can you tell me as to your logic for the 80% AMI and maybe not like in the more, to me that gives like workforce housing, so more that mid-range. Could you explain to why that wasn't an opportunity? And then also, are these gonna be rental units or are they gonna be like for actual ownership?
All right, this project is designed for ownership. And the 80% AMI is consistent with the definition in the UDO for affordable housing on for sale units. That's why we're there.
Okay, and then my final question around that. So if I buy this property and then I decide to sell it, that throws away, that negates the affordable housing component to it, or?
If you buy one of the affordable units, it will be deed restricted. So if you buy it, you're buying it subject to a deed restriction, that it will be affordable for a period of 30 years.
Okay.
So if you sold it after 30 years, you wouldn't, the affordability restriction wouldn't apply. If you sold it or anyone that you sell it to sells it within the 30 years, it is still, through a deed restriction, going to be an affordable unit for 30 years.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yep.
I just have one quick question for staff. There was a question about roads. Can you remind me on this one, was a TIA required on this or not?
None was required.
Okay, and remind me, so those are required when, under what conditions?
I believe John said 150.
Okay.
Good evening, John Sander, Planning and Development. TIA is triggered at 150 peak hour trips, which this one off the top of my head, I think it was like maybe 67, somewhere around there. So well short of that peak hour requirement.
Okay, thanks.
Councilmember Cook.
This is a staff question. What is I thought the definition for affordability was at 60% AMI. Am I incorrect in the UDO?
That's correct.
Okay. That was just a different thing than what you said, because I know that it is it's income restricted housing, but it is not affordable as defined by our UDO, which is at 60% AMI.
Nope. The UDO has two definitions. If it's for sale, it's 80% AMI. If it's for rent, it's 60% AMI.
Yep.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
For sale, it is at 80%.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any other questions, but I think this is going to be an easy no for me. This is the third time we're seeing this. It's been to Planning Commission twice. It's failed at Planning Commission overwhelmingly twice. There were only 2 votes in favor this time around. There's listed, again, a 3rd vote in favor, but that was someone who didn't receive an excused absence, who wasn't there, and made sure to note that in our written comments as well. Nothing has substantially changed since Planning Department. We're not seeing any major additional offers. This project also lapsed, which was due to the applicant not following through with the application for several months. It doesn't feel to me like it is the right project. It's like we've tried to take this project and like rework it and rework it and rework it over 2 years, and it just doesn't feel like it has ever gotten there. We put our Planning Commission in place. I know that they're not binding on us, and I know that we have had many conversations up here about their levels of expertise, but we do vote on all of these members of the Planning Commission, and I take their recommendation, well, not all of them, we vote on our city side, but I do take their recommendation seriously, and I don't see that this project has come back with anything that's gonna drastically change my mind, so it's gonna be an easy no vote from me.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
I'm good for now. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I had a few comments, and if a member does not show up to a meeting on Planning Commission without an excused absence, it is by nature determined as a yes vote.
Mr. Mayor, if I may clarify. So if someone does not come to a meeting, even if it's an excused or unexcused absence, they are simply not voting. It is only when someone attends the meeting, attends and then leaves. If they don't get an excused absence when they leave, then they are considered by procedure a yes vote going forward.
Yeah, and that's I'm glad you stated it correctly on the record. I want to make sure that everyone understands how that works. So I've been going back and forth about this one, and I've been thinking about just the commentary from the residents as well. And I want to just put it out there that, you know, this is an infill project. But I'm also empathetic to Mr. Layton, who spoke about, you know, just farming. I know that there's a lot of discomfort that is happening because it's happening on the line of transitioning from rural to, you know, from urban to suburban. And that is, you know, sort of the nature of the beast that we're dealing with right now. I can appreciate the no blasting. I can appreciate the no mass grading because that was, you know, we had that policy that came forth, inspired by the speakers who were here tonight. You know, we took that up, you know, and we talked about the elevated cost and the development process if we make this, if we agree to this. And so therefore we talked about water erosion, tree preservation, you know, phased development of the site. And I'm seeing a lot of that in this. Some things are, you know, like, you know, EMS, yes, EMS is provided by the county. So we do have to work with our county colleagues on that. However, every firefighter, just about, I believe, is trained and has EMS certification, if not everyone, most of them. And that's something that we take pride in, which is why anytime you call 911, our fire department is probably going to get there before anyone. We respond with all of our resources at hand. So I know there's some people that listen to the scanner and they listen to every single phone call all day and they post every single call that comes out, and it's really, really, really scary. But we have resources and we do respond. And there was a comment made earlier that, you know, you have to build the infrastructure first and then you can bring the people. Government doesn't work that way. You know, and I think, I forgot who stated it, but, you know, retail follow roofs, that's, as a business owner, I'm telling you, I'm not going to put a restaurant in the middle of a field and wait for people to come. When the people are there, then I'll put a business there. You know, and that's just basic logic, you know, in my interpretation. I did have a question about the roads. Are these, and I apologize, I didn't do this part of my homework up front before tonight, but are these city-owned roads or state-owned roads?
Burton is state and Cheek is state. When you get a little into the development, was it Chadwick?
Chadwick, yeah.
That's a city street.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So another thing that we're sort of, you know, it's kind of the nature of the beast is working with our state on these roads. It is pretty much a nightmare. And we talk about not sprawling, but if we don't, you know, abide by this urban growth boundary and these infill projects, the things that we said we want to promote, then we are by nature going to just simply sprawl even more. Because it's going to be more single family, and we're going to continue to battle the demand that we have with single family housing. I look at government as a jigsaw puzzle. You know, you're moving things around, but you have this parameter in which you have to work in. It's not like you're, you know, selling something and making a significant amount of profit, and then you budget that to just have this little amount of housing over here. We pay for things through taxes. We generate taxes through the tax base, which is when people are paying their taxes. So if folks are moving here, which that's what's happening in the triangle, you know, we're going to be able to expand and we're going to be able to share that burden. But if we just continue to make it exclusive, it's only going to get more expensive. And we have to make that choice. And for me, with 5 seconds left, it leans more positive than negative. So I'm going to support this project. All right. Yeah. Councilmember Cook.
Yeah, just quickly, I want to make sure that we're really clear because you said a couple things. I just want to make sure that the no blasting was rescinded. So there is no longer a no blasting part of this application. So just to make that really clear, because you said you appreciated that commitment, it does not exist.
Noted, that's fine.
Okay. And then the other
Because you
piece is
guys
that-
don't know that you're going to be able to blast or not? Okay,
Right.
noted.
So that was committed. It has been uncommitted. It was committed by a different representation. Is that? It wasn't Attorney Ghosh, but it is no longer a commitment. And then the other piece of this is that we keep calling it infill, and I just think this is a really interesting term because it is literally creating a satellite. It's creating a donut hole, and this goes against our comprehensive plan policies. I understand that there's like some kind of like interesting components of this, but I do not think that we can sit here and authentically call it infill. That's not what it is. So just wanted to note those two things because I think they're really important moving forward in this case.
Thank you. Question for staff. How are we defining infill?
Unless you're talking about specific infill development and infill standards that we have in our in-town residential areas, there's not really a definition of infill. This is a relatively subjective term, and I would say that staff does not have an ability to say whether or not this is infill. It could be in some ways and not in others.
Yeah, I agree. There are a lot of interesting factors about it. But again, it leans more, the good outweighs the bad on it. I think about, I heard a comment say, how are we going to take care of our families and make sure they have somewhere to live? And I promise I know sometimes my comments are taken as, oh, I can't believe he said that. But I'm being as, serious as possible and not trying to be snarky. But it's coming from someone who has a home, and we have people that are moving here, and it's becoming more and more competitive. And at the end of the day, I can get personal with this. I'm still hoping to get a home myself one day. That don't mean I'm homeless. It just means I just want to be able to have that luxury. And I think about that at the end of the day. I think about the people who are moving here, and I think about the folks that are trying to transition into their own independency. So I think about those things when I'm making this decision. It is bigger than me, and so I approach it in that humble purview. So, all right. Yep. Go.
Thank you. I'm still waiting. I haven't made up my mind. I'm waiting on what what colleagues are saying. I did want to say, we talk often, the one thing that I think is interesting is we talk about, well, we want the infrastructure to be there. And I get that, and I think that in some cases we did do that. We did that with Searles. That certainly didn't help Southeast Durham. But then what happened is that the taxpayer paid for that infrastructure. The way we do it now, the developer pays for the infrastructure. They're paying for the sidewalks. They're paying to connect. They're offsetting that cost of putting that large water treatment plant or the Searles facility. The developer has to pay that connection, and it actually gets more expensive over time. And that is a fee that would fall on our water users, and it is a fee that would fall on taxpayers to put those sidewalks in, to build those fire stations. And so I think that is just an interesting a flip, which was, I do wonder if people would say, well, we want the development community to pay for this infrastructure. Why are we getting stuck paying for it? They're the ones who are building. So I just want to, I think it's an interesting maybe conundrum. The current way that we do often is much of our infrastructure in these kinds of projects are the developers paying for it, not the taxpayer. So thanks.
Councilmember Kopak? Okay, Councilmember Rist?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Thanks to my colleagues' comments for the comments in the chamber. This is, we've been, in my 2 years in the council, we've been here before in these kind of debates. It's the same, I think it's the same debate. What's interesting to me is that, given that we just got back from the holidays, I had so many conversations with folks who were back in town for the holidays, kids back visiting and so forth. And there's a real concern among younger people about, can I afford ever to live in Durham? This is a big conversation. I heard a lot of conversations over the holidays. So, this is a complicated case. I do want to address the comments about abundance that was referenced by one of the speakers. The mayor and I are part of the Abundance Elected Network. I am one of the first class of Abundance Fellows. We are carefully looking at this, the Abundance as a book, as a sort of like as a framework for thinking about public policy. And the whole point of Abundance is that we want to provide more of what people want. We want to deliver more of what people want in their communities. And that includes housing, it includes green energy, and it includes transit and many other things, childcare, right? And so to me in this case, you know, we are the third largest city now in North Carolina. But I think we're the 9th largest by square miles, right? So we're a little bit smaller than a lot of the cities in the state. We've created a comprehensive plan, the mayor referred to that sees us getting denser within the urban growth boundary. So now there's a debate about is it infill, is it not? To me, what we're doing inside the urban growth boundary, especially in a parcel like this that is designed to be a mixed residential neighborhood, is getting that, whether it's infill, it's just getting denser, right? The UDO that we're now debating, the new UDO, would envision more density in pretty much every zoning district in the city, if I'm not mistaken. If Sarah may want to confirm that. But I think we're looking towards getting denser in every residential district, right? Am I correct? Yeah. So this would be denser. I don't think this would be like townhomes towering over single-family homes. I think this would be a denser development. This is not a transit opportunity area, really dense, but it would be denser like we're going to get in every district in the city. So I think the townhomes here provide needed diversity in housing. There's a lot of single-family homes out there. I think the proffer here, and if I'm correct, so the proffer is a 30-foot buffer on the northern and southern edges. Okay, so that proffer, that was the main issue I think that came before, or that was the main issue in the comments from the Planning Commission. I think with that proffer and the 10 units affordable, whether you do 120 or less, right? You've committed 10 affordable units. That's a strong offer. I think on balance, to me, this passes the threshold for approval. I'll support this project. It's not perfect. I know we've wrestled with this for a couple of years, but I appreciate the work being done by staff and the applicant, so I'm happy to support this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you to residents, staff, and applicants on this one. I found this one to be a challenging one on Planning Commission, as did many of my fellow Planning Commissioners, and I find it a challenging one now because it is a balance of the pros and cons that the project offers. You know, it has benefits in it that we don't often see that I think we want to see in more projects, like that commitment of you know, at least 8% of units affordable, that 10 units no matter what. You know, that speaks to me when I hear in community about the necessity of affordability and housing availability. As an environmentalist, you know, for me, it's really important that projects are able to align with comprehensive plan around sensitive environmental lands, protection of biodiversity, you know, the no mass grading. We don't have enough projects with green building commitments and the 100 water stormwater. And, you know, for me, it's meaningful that we've seen the additional proffers of the 30-foot you know, buffer and opacity as requested, and also the commitment around the stormwater during construction phase, which was something that was shared a lot during Planning Commission. It was a concern of mine, as was the concerns around the buffer. You know, there was also a lot of talk, and I had concerns around this question of the donut hole, and I think it's an interesting, I guess perhaps philosophical question if there's not a definition of infill, but it's a helpful clarification for me to see that, you know, there is the city water and sewer available, as well as other services that do exist, and so it isn't an added cost, you know, to taxpayers, as sometimes donut holes. I think that's the reason we have a policy around donut holes, is so that we don't encourage that additional annexation, the additional taking on of expenses around services. And so that makes me think differently. Of course, like, you know, I'd love to have no projects have stream crossings or impede on you know, on stream buffers. And I do hear the concerns around the traffic. And, you know, and I get like folks would rather not see something different where they live than what's there. I mean, you know, my neighbors have advocated in the same way where I live. But at the same time, the comprehensive plan says very clearly that this is a site where it's intended to have more density. And where townhomes is a recommended approach per the vision of our comprehensive plan. And so for me, this is a tough one. It's one that I voted no on Planning Commission. I was on the fence then. For me, given the additional proffers this evening, the 30-foot, you know, the additional stormwater provisions, and for me, the clarification around the policy where I don't see this fitting the traditional definition of a donut hole. For me, I think it makes sense and helps promote our comprehensive plan. Our need for housing protects our environment in the way that we say we want to. And so it's hard for me to maintain that no vote. And so it's a project that I can support.
All right, did you have another comment? Okay. I'll just close with this. As I was listening to my colleagues' comments, there's also an economic case for me as well. One thing I've heard a lot about over the holidays, as well as everywhere I go across the city, is how much taxes are kicking everybody's butt right now. We did this land valuation. The county did the land valuation by law. They had to. And, a person that's a local resident who is also a builder just paid the city $90,000, more than double what they paid last year. And I think about, when the budget season that's coming up, and I think about all the bright ideas that we, the 7 of us, are going to come up with after listening to different organizations and different people. We should have this, we should have that, we should have, all the things. Those proposals are going to come to the city manager, and he's going to have to figure out how to make it work. And we survived quite a few years without raising taxes because we had such growth it was so aggressive. But we've had to make some really big purchases. I'll use transit, for example. It's about $17, $18 million. That's a lot of money, and those big, beautiful, creative ideas, innovative ideas cost, and we have to find a way to pay for it. We're either going to pay for them with us who live here in Durham, or we're going to share that expense with people who are moving and going to get, participate more in the property tax side of things. And so I do take that in consideration. I can't, of course, listening to all of the concerns around just this one case, but I think about it broadly, philosophically, how we pay for things. And I think about, Miss Sally, who is 77 years old, not going back into the workforce, owns a home, but she's struggling to stay there because we are promoting so many new things. And we only have one way to really pay for it, and that's out of the tax base. But if we're going to be restrictive in the tax base, then the tax base has to either pay more, or we're going to have to share that by the people who may move into these 120 units. And that is just a reality. That's the jigsaw puzzle that I've been talking about. So it is important that we do balance all of the very important things that we've talked about here tonight. But at the end of the day, we have to make that choice. Are we going to house people and invite them into our tax base to help us pay for the things that we want, such as transit, such as unarmed response, such as, all the other things that we put in the budget? Or are we going to pay for it ourselves? And are we going to complain that things are getting more expensive and it's harder to live in Durham? That is the reality. So I think about that as well. That being said, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, I've got one.
Yep.
I know the conversation is winding down, but that did just bring up one more question for me that I have that I think is applicable to more than just this case I would like to ask staff. The cost-benefit analysis, I'm just bringing this because you were talking about taxes. So cost-benefit analysis, which we have in our packet, has projected revenues and projected expenditures. And then they're provided by fire, police, public works, solid waste, transportation. Do those departments help provide those numbers, or is there just some basic formula? And do satellite annexations, do the cost of having to cross from city into county, back into city, does that play into the cost-benefit analysis?
Sure. So each department has their own formula in terms of what will be a cost or a revenue based on a specific project. Territory is mainly used by fire and police in their analysis of revenues and expenditures. What that actually is, I don't know. They hold it. Planning distributes the proposed fiscal impact analysis to all 6 departments, and they provide budget and management services, their projected revenues and expenditures, and then
So they
EMS
do provide input?
Yes.
The departments do?
Yep. Okay. And that's captured in the memo.
Thanks for letting me ask that question.
Yep. And there was a comment, Mr. Layton, where you talked about just the quality of life of farming on this border, while also there's significant growth that's happening. I'll commit that I'm going to look more into that with staff, just to at least a quality of life analysis or assessment, because I know exactly what you're talking about. I grew up in Scotland Neck, North Carolina, and tractors on the road was a normal thing, on a 2-lane road. But there is a lot of growth that's happening out in this part of Durham, Southeast Durham. So I'll commit to looking into that and seeing, where is the farmland and where is the growth and what is possible, which I don't know what that is right now, but I will look into that. All right, I'll entertain a motion to adopt an ordinance annexing Sagebrook Townhouses into the city of Durham and to authorize the city manager to enter into a utility extension agreement with Capital City Homes, LLC.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Madam Clerk, please open the vote. Please close the vote.
The motion passes 4-3 with council members Baker, Burris, and Cook voting no.
Thank you. And I'll also entertain a motion to adopt an ordinance amending the Unified Development Ordinance by taking property out of residential rural, residential suburban 20 Falls Jordan Watershed Overlay District B, county jurisdiction, and establishing the same as Planned Development Residential 6.905, Falls Jordan Watershed Overlay District B, city jurisdiction.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and properly seconded. Madam Clerk, please open the vote. Please close the vote.
The motion passes 4-3 with council members Baker, Burris, and Cook voting no.
Thank you. And lastly, I'll entertain a motion to adopt a consistency statement as required by North Carolina General Statute, Section 160D-605.
Move to adopt consistency.
Second.
It's moved and properly seconded. Madam Clerk, please open the vote. Please close the vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you all so much, and welcome to Veganuary. I forgot to talk about that earlier, but you don't have to. But if you will, join myself and Councilmember Rist and the Veganuary crew with Dr. Voorhees and going vegan for the month of January. And if you had dinner earlier, you can start after tonight, colleagues. Thank you. We're adjourned.